This video is going to be a free-form discussion on my thoughts about the Ford Mustang Mach-e as a Shelby GT350R owner. So, Mustangs are something I have liked for years. My first car that I bought out of college was a Boss 302 Laguna Seca. I've mentioned this before, but since an early age, my dad was an engineer at Ford Motor Company, and when they had Take Your Child to Work Day and things like that, I'd get to go. And the Mustang was the cool car. It was the Ford sports car. I remember in college dreaming about buying a Mustang 5.0, a Mustang GT at some point, configuring out a 2015 GT in deep impact blue and looking at the price and wondering when it would depreciate or what the payments would be. And fast forward a couple years, I ended up with that Boss 302 Laguna Seca, and now I currently own a Shelby GT350R, which I absolutely love. I'm a big fan of the vehicle, huge fan of the Mustangs. So when Ford came out with the Mach-e, I will admit my initial reaction was, huh? Especially when they very clearly pitched it as a Mustang. Very clearly. Branded as a Mustang, the styling looks like a Mustang, it was part of the Mustang family. That initial, huh? Reaction ended up becoming a little bit of like, really? This seems like they're cannibalizing on some of the Mustang brand equity to push a all-new pure electric platform crossover, and I didn't feel like it would actually fit quite well. The first time I spoke to somebody from Ford about it was at the Chicago Auto Show. That must have been a year or 2 years ago, and it was the brand manager, and I was like, so fully open-minded here as somebody who's owned a couple of them, driven anything from older GT500s to 5.0s to EcoBoosts. Explain to me, how is this supposed to be a Mustang? And the premise of it was like, it's for somebody who wants that Mustang experience, a sports car type of thing, but doesn't have room for a sports car, has a family, they need the space, they need the back seat, and they want to extend it out. And I was like, okay, I'll reserve judgment until I get to drive one. It has some cool technology, the range numbers are pretty good, the top tier GT looked like it would have some good performance credentials, and now we're another year later-ish, and I am spending a week with a Ford Mustang Mach-e Premium all-wheel drive. They call it the E all-wheel drive. You can see it's raining pretty hard today, so I'm not outside filming my B-roll. So this is beyond my regular formal review and the Living With vlog. Just some very informal, unscripted, really no structure of just me talking about what are my thoughts on the Mach-e as a current Shelby GT350R owner. Now, I will say it's not quite fair to directly compare them because the Shelby the GT350 is one of the top tier levels of the Mustang. It's been specially upgraded, modified to be the track focused, the most driver focused car. That compared to a regular Mustang EcoBoost, even a GT, is a whole step up with a more special engine and things like that, a different transmission with the Tremec. And me, the consumer, like there's a reason I went with a Boss 302 Laguna Seca. That's some of the cars that I spend more of my time in, and it fits me. Now, this is the Premium, which is not the GT, not the GT Performance Pack, so it's not supposed to be the top tier performance one. I would maybe equate this more to like an EcoBoost or something, or even maybe just a regular GT, but what does it feel like? Well, styling-wise, I mean, it looks good. I think it looks really nice. They applied, if there has to be a crossover that's a Mustang, this one is good. It looks nice. The front end, I'm a big fan of the front end styling. It doesn't need a grille, but it's got that kind of shape that reminds you of the Mustang or some other Ford styling, like the Ford Fusion front grille. The front DRLs, the headlights are really cool. They've got that triple bar kind of look that you would find on Mustangs. And around back, I don't love it as much, again, enforcing the Mustang theme with the triple bar sequential taillights. I don't think it looks quite as good, but it's got the swoopy roof line. It's got actually part of the roof line is blacked out, so it makes it look like it's even lower. But it's a crossover, right? And this is a Premium. The GT looks really cool. I'm a fan of the Rapid Red, but overall, I think the Mach-e is a good-looking vehicle. Now, there are Mustang badges all over it, and people are used to the Mustang always being a coupe or convertible. So that, I think, is jarring to certain people, but it is what it is now. From a styling department, I think it's good. From an interior, I think it's actually really nice. Now, it doesn't feel like a Mustang on the inside. I'm looking right at a Mustang badge on the steering wheel, but it doesn't feel like a Mustang on the inside. I've got this enormous vertical touchscreen. The materials are really nice. It's got some good tech, a great B&O sound system, like this cloth like sound bar that goes across the dash. The seats are pretty comfortable. Huge panoramic sunroof. None of this is anything I associate with a Mustang. Honestly, the interior is usually the weakest part of the Mustang, especially the previous. Before they went to the S550 generation, my 2012 Boss 302 was bad. It was just actually bad on the inside. Hard plastics. I mean, it wasn't good at all. But I didn't buy the car for that. I was considering the E92 M3, which had a way better interior. I mean, it was a BMW, so luxury, leather, things like that, a much better iDrive system. But I wanted the driving experience of the Boss 302. Now the later generation, my Shelby 350R, it has an acceptable interior. For a car that was 70 grand new, it's not a good interior. It's still not a good interior. The center dome light thing on a Shelby GT350 is the same as a 2012 Boss 302, and it's bad. A lot of plastic still, but still some better things with the Recaro seats and things like that, newer sync system. But compared to this Mach-e, there's nothing like. This is a much better interior than has ever been offered in a Mustang coupe, without a doubt. And I think it's actually worth the price tag in terms of the interior. I like it more than a Tesla interior. It has more personality. The Tesla interior is very cold and there's just nothing there. They just took the screen and took everything away. This still has a little center 10-inch screen that gives you a range, your vehicle, it's got picking up the Porsche Panameras that's in front of me, your speed, some nice little animations. The steering wheel feels nice. That actually leads me to some of the things I love about this Mach-e. I'll get to that in a second. So the interior feels nothing like a Mustang. We've got back seats, which makes it practical. There are Mustangs with back seats. Mine doesn't because it's the R, but I was able to fold down seats and have practical stuff in the back. Now, this being a premium, me being a 350R owner, I will say it doesn't feel like a Mustang. To somebody who purchases a Mustang or Shelby or a Boss 302 or something like that, a GT500, the type of buyer there, this vehicle is not going to check that excitement, raw excitement, noise driving experience box for you. For somebody who looks to Mustang as a brand of a sporty, fun weekend car, the iconic brand, this actually, I think, would be fulfilling a lot of that criteria. Somebody who would buy a V6 convertible or EcoBoost, something like that. They're not looking for the sharpest handling, the best suspension, the best exhaust noise, things like that. This Mach-e could bring that Mustang experience, and I think Ford will accomplish that. But if you are looking for the same experience as a GT even, or a Performance Pack Level 2, or a 350, nah, it's not going to do it. It understeers. I mean, it's wet out, and these probably aren't the most grippy tires, but I took some corners at speed, and it just kind of understeered. That being said, let's just go straight into some of the things I love about it. The steering feel is good, though. Like, the actual steering, the responses, and things like that, I think are actually quite good. It's a crossover, right? I think the steering is really good. I'm a big fan of the styling. The interior materials and quality, big fan of that too. Some of the things that I hate though, the range isn't brilliant. So this is the all-wheel drive extended range premium. It's rated at 270 miles EPA estimated. I haven't gotten close to that. I fully charged it up and it was in the low 200s, I believe. I'm at 82% right now, and it's showing 186 miles. So there will be still some range anxiety, especially compared to some of the competitors, notably the Tesla Model Y. The Mach-e doesn't quite match up against a dual motor long range version there in terms of range. And infrastructure wise, there is a pretty big charging network. Ford does give you a charger with it, and I have been charging this at work. I haven't even bothered plugging in at home because just a commute has been fine for me and whatever these errands I'm running on the weekend. But I've had experience of a similar electric vehicle, similar range, going from the Chicago area back home to my parents in Michigan to visit family and friends. I didn't take an electric car because it would have been a pain to charge and having to stop halfway through, and I just elected to take my truck. Now, that's not necessarily the Mach-e's fault. That's kind of the whole EV infrastructure, but if the range was even higher, maybe that'd be better. And as you go up into all-wheel drive and the GT versions, your range will drop. And the last thing I don't really like, I initially thought it was really cool, the door buttons, but after a while I've started to not like them as much. They're these little ring touch buttons that are right on the doors, and you touch them and it pops the door out, but it's a really small thing. Like a handle is nice because the big handle you just grab. This one you gotta like make sure you press it and then it pops out. What happens if, I had a couple of people ask me, what happens if you run out of electricity? Well, the door's no longer open. There have been electric opening doors on plenty of cars, and there is definitely some sort of physical manual override. I haven't found it. I haven't never actually looked for it. But that type of thing worries me because a handle has a mechanical connection usually on a lot of cars, and like that's not rocket science, right? Electronics have a tendency to sometimes act up. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. And then the last one is just, it doesn't give me, this one doesn't give me the Mustang feel. I think because I am a GT350R aficionado, I need to try out a GT or a GT Performance pack to really get it up there. Now that, they claim 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. That may give you the bigger punch. This is quick, good around town, and my thoughts are it's a brilliant daily driver. I think it's one of the best EV daily drivers out there. And I've spent time in the Audi e-tron Sportback, drove that recently, and it was good too, and I said nice things about it, but I didn't think it was worth the price. It was like 80 grand or something like that. They're really, really expensive. And I think this Mustang interior is as nice. I actually prefer it, the feel to it in this type of vehicle. I think it looks better. It's more distinctive than the e-tron, which blended more into the rest of the Audi family styling for way less money. And this one has all-wheel drive too, which is definitely good. So I guess to conclude my rambling train of thoughts here, as a GT350R owner, this doesn't do it for me as a Mustang. What it does do for me is a really good daily driver. And I will be 100% transparent and honest. In the course of my last couple of days with this, I recently got rid of my truck. I was like, this could be actually a pretty good daily driver to run alongside the Shelby. Literally, like, I actually took a friend for a spin in a Mach-e, this exact one, and later that night he texted me and he goes, I just placed an order for one. He liked it that much. He had been thinking about getting an EV and had specific things he wanted, all-wheel drive, certain things, and we went for a spin in this. He goes, this is really cool. I like it. And I was like, oh, I'm glad you like it. And then later that night he ordered one. I was like, oh, I didn't expect you to actually go out and buy one this quickly. So as a daily driver, I think this will be brilliant. Now, I need to try out a GT. Ford, I need to experience the Mustang Mach-e GT, and pretty please, as somebody who has spent time in anything from the brand new GT500 to the Boss 302s to older Mustang GTs and things like that, modified ones, stock ones, yeah, I need to see if that one can more fulfill the Mustang nameplate on it. I mean, it's got the Mustang logo on it right here. It's really comfortable. One of the things when you take away an internal combustion engine is other types of noises become much more apparent. I'm talking road noise, tire noise, wind noise, and with an EV, you don't get that masked with the engine and exhaust sound. And I actually think the Mach-e is a pretty good, does a really good job of that. I've been commuting to work, and it's been pretty comfortable. The heated seats are strong, like really nice and warm. It's got the nice pull to leave a red light and you get to the front of traffic to merge or whatever. So I think that's been really good. Great sound system. This infotainment screen, the sync system, the big 15.5 inch, I think it's very well responsive. I've got wireless Apple CarPlay. I can go to vehicle settings. I'm in unbridled mode right now. We have the one pedal drive, which I actually have off right now. It makes some propulsion noises. You can hear that in the background, kind of humming, which increases in intensity as you go to unbridled. But I can turn off that propulsion sound. So yeah, now it's pure silent EV. You just hear a little whine in the background. But given that it's all-wheel drive, I imagine this would be good in the winter. I've discovered that EVs seem to be decent in winter because of the low center of gravity, and the weight seems to anchor them down, and they actually did quite well. The e-tron, just on all seasons, I was like, oh, this thing is grippy. In snow, I was quite impressed with that. So, am I upset that there is a electric crossover called the Mach-e? No, I am no longer upset. So my good friend Matt, Mr. Matt, he works at Ford. We've talked about before. He has that black GT350R, and every time I bring up the Mach-e, I'll joke about it and say stuff. He goes, "No, just wait to drive it. You're jumping to conclusions." And I'm like, "Okay, fine. I will keep an open mind. I will try out the pure electric Mustang," and I like it. I like it. If they didn't put a Mustang badge on it, I think my excitement would be triple, even for just the regular premium or a select or whatever it is. I will say you have raised expectations by putting a Mustang badge on it because that's such an iconic nameplate. If GM did the same thing and made a Corvette SUV or a pure electric crossover Corvette, it would be the exact same thing. Everybody would expect it to do X, Y, and Z, and expectations would double and triple. And if it failed to fulfill that, it would be disappointing. And if you take this and just call it, I know people like pitched around the name like Galaxy or whatever you want to call it, even just Mach-e on its own, without associating as purposefully with the Mustang brand, I think expectations would be more medium and it would very easily be able to fulfill them, and it's actually really good. I like this vehicle. Now, I've just kind of rambled and ranted a bunch about Mustangs and how the Mach-e looks and feels, but yeah, the conclusion is it's a very good electric car. It's a very good daily driver. If you have access to charging and you have a commute that's less than 200 miles, which above 200 miles, that's not commuting, that's just road tripping to work. Anyways, for my daily commute, driving around town, it's got the practicality, the ground clearance, cargo space. I think it looks good. It's zippy when you want it to be. Zippy is the word I'll use for it. That's what I'll use to describe the Mach-e. Zippy. Off the line, it gets going. When you want to try to throw it some turns, you feel the weight. It understeers a little bit to me, what I've been trying out. But again, this is the premium all-wheel drive. Maybe a rear-wheel drive one, get a little more tail-happy, well, I don't know, or the GT for sure. But, yeah, I would, a couple friends actually just picked up Mach-e's as daily drivers. One friend, one acquaintance, Matt Fair from the Smoking Tire, saw he picked one up, and then JR Garage, Jeffrey, I just texted him. I was like, oh, you got a Mach-e, you got a red one, Rapid Red. So congrats to those guys. So people are speaking with their money and purchasing these. This is a press car from Ford, so I didn't buy this. Well, the people were like, did you buy a Mach-e? No. I haven't bought one. This is a press car. I have it for a week to drive from Ford Motor Company. And then a lot of people reach out and they ask questions. Burlacker, Nick, he reached out on Instagram and we were chatting about it. He also has a Shelby GT350. So it has piqued people's interest, and from what I've observed, the reactions are very polarized. Either people are like, whoa, that is so cool, that is really awesome, it's a Mustang crossover, it's pure EV, I'm really interested in electric vehicles, can I please check it out, Eddie? Or the other end of the spectrum is, oh my god, why is that a Mustang? That shouldn't be a Mustang, that's an abomination. I haven't found people who are kind of middle of the line. They're either on one extreme or the other extreme, and it's actually been kind of funny to me because it's funny. People standing next to you, they go, "That's really cool." And the other guy next to him goes, "No, what do you mean it's cool? I don't like this at all." I guess I'm kind of middle of the line right now. I don't love it or hate it. I think it's would be a great daily driver, and I would try it out if I was in market for an EV. Right now, I think this would be what I'd go for, but at the moment I'm not in market for an EV. I do have another car coming. I don't know when I'm posting this video, but I do have another car coming, which should be fun. But in short, nice interior, cool driving experience, does not conventionally fulfill what you expect out of a Mustang. So that is the Mach-e. We will definitely we'll continue the living with video. I will do my formal review. This has gotten quite long of me just kind of rambling on about the Mach-e as I'm cruising around. I don't even have a direction in mind. I think I just went back to my work commute because that was just kind of reflex. I really, really want to try out a GT or a GT Performance package, or I think that's what they're calling it, a top tier one. That one is a lot more power, a little less range, more money, but more speed. 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. That's quick. That's definitely fun. So I've seen people who have purchased these, and they also have Mustangs. So I know there are owners who are embracing it and trying it out. I'm absolutely certain this will bring brand new customers who haven't been a Mustang customer into the Ford Mustang brand. So from that perspective, I think Ford will be successful. There is still that government tax credit applicable for certain individuals and vehicles, I think $7,500. So that'll bring the price down a bit. But there's that. Those are my thoughts. Just completely free-form thoughts on the Mustang Mach-e as a current Shelby GT350R owner, as the title says. Some of the things I love about it, some of the things I hate about it. Make sure you check out the full formal review too, where I'll talk more on the specific specs, the 88 kilowatt hour battery pack, and X, Y, and Z to power, and then also my living with vlog, which is just me walking around with a camera day to day when I'm driving this to work or going to Home Depot to buy a ladder. Very random things that I have to do sometimes. Yeah. And we'll conclude that video. Thanks so much for the support. The Shelby will be off to PPF and some paint correction ceramic coating soon. And I need an oil change on that. I have a catch cans to install, new air filter, and then more Shelby 350R content, because gosh, I have missed driving that car, and hopefully a new car coming to the garage very soon. Thanks for all the support.